The following is a hoop ball presentation. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast.
Hello and welcome to Fantasy NBA Today. My name is Adrian Benjamins and I'm joined by Coach. And today's episode is brought to you by Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee Company. Get some delicious coffee and taste the Kona difference. Head over to hawaiianisles.com or Amazon and get some coffee. Coach, how are you doing on this Friday morning?
Yo, Adrian, how are you, my man? I am doing okay. Just throwing back a couple of cups of Kona coffee here and trying to absorb the complete roller coaster insanity of what was the NBA Finals, man. I'll tell you.
What a wild ride the NBA Finals was, Coach. Man, I don't even know where to start, man. You know what? Let's start with Toronto. Super happy for the Toronto Raptors. Specifically, man, it was really cool to see guys like Marc Gasol, Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka, Fred VanVleet, who was undrafted, went to the G League. I mean, how amazing it is to see a band of guys like that win an NBA championship. All of Canada backing this team. You know, Coach, I heard it talked about, I don't remember what show I was watching, but they were talking about how, like, you know, here in California, we got the Clippers, we got the Lakers, we got the Kings, we got the Warriors. It's like so divided. There's an entire country backing the Toronto Raptors. It's amazing. And what a great thing for them to win their first NBA title. So there's that. And then there's the Warriors, man. Coach, absolutely ridiculous. Durant going down with the ruptured Achilles. Klay Thompson, who has been a monster throughout the playoffs and the finals, had 30 points, right, in that third quarter, going down with the torn ACL. Kevin Looney with a fractured collarbone. I mean, it was ridiculous how these guys were getting hurt. I think Cousins made a statement that they just wanted to get to the finish line and like them avoiding injuries. It was just ridiculous. Coach, I want to get all your thoughts. So much to talk about here. What are your thoughts on the game, on the finals, man?
Well, I'll tell you, I could talk an hour on this. It was some of the most intriguing, crazy, just up and downs of just about any finals that I can remember. First of all, I agree with you. Shout out to Toronto and the whole country of Canada. I grew up in the western northmost point of Pennsylvania. I was about 2 hours and 15 minutes from crossing over the Peace Bridge into Canada. So we used to go up to Toronto and spend a lot of time there. It is an awesome country for those of our hoopballers that haven't been up there, and they are some impassioned fans and some good people. So I thought that was awesome. And then obviously the whole narrative of just the monkey off the back of the organization of trying to finally, not just get to a final, but win one, with Kyle Lowry being someone that's really just flat out choked in the playoffs multiple times, to stepping up the way he did. And then, you take a rookie coach in Nick Nurse, who I read an awesome article last night. 14 years ago, he took a job coaching a team where he was paid $43 a day. And he also had to take the uniforms home, wash them, drive the van to the games with the players. So you're talking about a guy that's paid his dues through the system and come up through the ranks. And then the roster, Kyle, their whole entire team was basically a bunch of either guys heading towards retirement or cast-offs or guys that weren't drafted. Other than Kawhi being the 15th pick, he's the only high guy that they had that was drafted. All the rest of them, the Van Vliets and Lowrys and guys that stepped up, were all guys that, played smaller schools or didn't get recruited. So that whole story is phenomenal. And you got to love, it reminded me a little bit of when Dirk won it with the Mavs. Just fun to see a fan base and a whole different organization step up, especially on the back of really, one main player. So that was awesome. Then you flip the coin on the Warriors side, and it was unbelievable. I mean, you started off. I was one complaining about Durant not sitting on the bench and questioned, like most people, I think, questioned his focus and commitment to the team and all of those things. And then how that's shifted. I mean, you get a guy that really was hurt and really laid it out there for his team when their backs were against the wall. So the whole view of KD has changed. And then, you've got just the 5 games in a row won on the road by teams. That's never happened in NBA history. And, Klay playing just out of his mind. I mean, I really think they would have won that game if he stayed in there, because he was just had that killer look in his eye, and to see him. And I really, when I saw, because I have had the same knee injury, and when I saw the way that buckled, I thought he was done. So, the fact I couldn't get over the adrenaline, and he was able to run back down the tunnel and come out there and shoot the foul shots and basically be forced not to go back into the game. And, to see him leaving on crutches was amazing. And then the last point I'll make is, just the landscape of the whole NBA changing within a week and a half. I mean, all of the talk about, is Klay going to get the max deal or go play in LA where his dad did? And of course, KD going to the Knicks or wherever he was going to go. All of those things now are up in the air. Nobody knows what the heck's going on, and just makes for a bunch more drama. And it's just sort of amazing how much has changed in the last 2 weeks. So that's sort of my finals recap.
Coach, I am glad you brought up Klay Thompson. Fantasy-wise, not a guy I'm a huge fan of. His fantasy value primarily is based off of his 3-point shooting. So, games where he doesn't have a good 3-point night, I'm always disappointed when I see his lines. Where he gets drafted in the second round, I always look like I can get a more all-around type alpha number 1 option type guy when I'm drafting, usually where he goes. So, not a guy I'm a huge fan of fantasy-wise, but Coach, I got to tell you, man, he impressed me so much in this postseason. He was an absolute beast throughout the playoffs, consistent every night, not just on the offensive end, on the defensive end, man. He, from a reality standpoint, Coach, I think the world of Klay Thompson. I'm hearing, a candidate to be a max guy, even with this torn ACL. So I hope he has a speedy recovery. Coach, he's going to miss a good chunk of next season, right? At least half of next year. So don't rush this guy back. I can't even begin to think about what is next for this Warriors team. Question marks with Durant. What's going to happen with him? With no Klay, I feel like this kind of swings the door open in the West as far as who's favorite now to be on top of the West, right, Coach? I mean, just totally, as you said, man, this just changes everything from a free agent standpoint, from next year's playoff standpoint. I mean, it's just crazy how much has changed after this finals. And it's insane, Coach. I can't believe it. Hey, real quick, I want to touch on the Raptors, specifically all of the risks that they took, Coach, it was crazy. Trading DeMar DeRozan, who, Coach, still to this day, I see DeMar DeRozan jerseys at the Raptors game. That's how much this guy was loved. They trade DeRozan for a guy who said he didn't even want to be in Toronto. They get rid of Casey, who was Coach of the Year. Trading for Gasol. Everything they did is now validated by this championship. It is just amazing, Coach. I've almost never seen anything like it where an organization makes so many changes and it pays off the way that it did. Outstanding. Coach, going into the playoffs, I would have bet that Kawhi Leonard was a goner. So many rumors about him going to LA. He's got a home here in California. Coach, if I'm a betting man now, I think he stays in Toronto for sure. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, they just won a title. They're going to have a parade. All of Canada loves him. All this talk about how they have that Wine and Dine program where all these people are giving him, free food, free meals, free rides. He's got like a free studio apartment in Toronto. I mean, Coach, what are your thoughts on Kawhi? Is he going to stay in Toronto? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I want to make a comment on what I thought was a tremendous point that you made there. I look back, I had forwarded on my Twitter. So, if any of our hoop ballers want to check that out, it basically showed all of the championships through the last 56 years and who won and who was the MVP. And I went back through those and looked just to get a feel, and there, without question, this is the team in NBA history that has the most moves, most risk, most just completely out there moves in the season that they won the championship. Everything that you mentioned was spot on. I mean, the risk to trade the most beloved player in the franchise in DeRozan, the risk to pick up Gasol and that contract, but you already have Ibaka and sticking him on the bench. And, everything that they did was firing the coach of the year and all the criticism that they took. So, yes, I mean, you talk about validation for that front office. It's unprecedented and definitely the most historic in NBA history. So that's a story within itself. As far as the Kawhi thing goes, I'm from the opposite school of thought, and this is really bizarre, but I'll just share my thoughts, whether they're valid or not, and we'll see how they play out. But Kawhi is the oddest guy I think I can ever remember in the NBA as far as somebody that was such a big star. And I think all of this attention, the free this and Kawhi this and all of it, I don't think he wants any of that. I think he cringes at that. And I don't think any of that matters. He's so robotic and so just in his own head. I think he had plans. This is, again, I've listened to all the Brian Windhorst and all the different podcasts and experts, and nobody has any inside information on Kawhi because you can't get any. But this is just my gut feeling is I think his plan was to go to LA and play for the Clippers. And I think, that's where he's from. He wants to go out there. He's got family there. Someone said he had a house there. I don't know. There's always a million rumors, but I don't think this really changes anything. He came to Toronto. He won them a championship. He'll be beloved and a hero there. He really has nothing left to accomplish there. He reached the pinnacle in the first most improbable season, in the most improbable way. Remember, I picked Philly to beat him in that second round, and he has the triple bank off the rim, front, back, side, and to win it. So I think he goes. That's just my gut feeling. So we'll see how that goes as well. But, and then to shift gears on your first comment with the Warriors, everybody in the league, pretty much anybody you talk to around basketball, they wanted the Warriors to break up that team. They didn't think it was fun to watch the Warriors just dominate. And I know some of the initial ratings in the U.S. for the finals here were down because, there's no Toronto fans in, U.S. that I know of hardly. And, Gold State, that whole boring scenario of them getting there every year. So I think, what's happened now, unfortunately, not the way it wanted to, but what you commented on is right on the money is, how the Warriors dynasty is broken up, no matter which way you want to look at it, through injury, guys having to sit out, free agents. Does Cousins still will probably go too because somebody will pay him. But, it'll be a different landscape next year. I think Klay will come back a lot quicker than you think. The ACL repairs now are – a lot of guys say, believe it or not, I know it sounds crazy, but that their knee feels as strong or stronger than before the injury. I mean, ACL repairs have sort of become like Tommy John repairs in baseball. It's not a career-threatening thing at all. Now, the ruptured Achilles is a different animal. Generally, players do not come back as strong as they were before, and there's always a very long time frame. So I believe KD sits pretty much all of next year, and then the following year is just getting his legs back about him. So I think we're going to lose 2 years prime of KD, but I think you'll see Klay back by mid-season next year in top form, and I do think the Warriors will give him a max deal. So,
I definitely am not going to write the Warriors off, man. Even if KD leaves, they still have the three-headed monster of Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. And as you said, Klay Thompson could easily return mid-season or possibly even sooner if his recovery goes better. So I definitely am not writing the Warriors off, Coach, but I do agree with it's kind of more fun with KD out. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to be insensitive. Super sad about KD, one of the best players in the NBA. Ruptured Achilles. I hate to see that because, as you said, man, we've seen it alter careers for some players, and you don't want to see anything like that happen with KD. So from that standpoint, I'm very sad about that. But from a basketball landscape, an NBA landscape standpoint, it is exciting to see now the competitiveness kind of open up where all these other teams now have more of a shot at the top where, Coach, going into last season, we already wrote the Warriors in up at the top. Like, it was a no-brainer. And now I don't think that's the case. And that's what makes it more fun for me. But I am definitely not saying that this Warriors team is done or that their run is over. I think the three guys are still there. You can still just add pieces and role players around those three guys, and you still have a team that is likely probably to be the favorite to win the West, even with those three guys healthy. So, but Coach, one thing that does concern me, we saw Golden State the last couple of seasons take a very aggressive approach as far as resting guys. Now, you got to imagine that after this postseason and finals, they're going to be even more aggressive about sitting guys on back-to-backs. Steve Kerr himself said that maybe this Klay Thompson injury is due to him playing over 100 and something games for 5 straight seasons. So, Coach, from a fantasy standpoint, I am a little worried on the Warriors players because I think we're going to see them rest really heavily during next season. What are your thoughts on that real quick?
Well, yeah, I think it's a huge concern. And I think the fact that Kawhi Leonard, is now going to be the, poster boy for let's rest him, a quarter of the season, literally. I mean, he sat 25-30% of the season for load management purposes, although he was coming back from a major injury. But the bottom line is, now that there was success with that, the NBA is a league of copycat. When something works, other teams do it. And, with Kerr saying something ridiculous like he did about, does that have Klay? No, Klay went up for a dunk, and Danny Green hit him awkwardly, and all his weight landed on his left leg, and it twisted. That could happen in the first game of his rookie season or after playing 1,000 games in a row. So that's baloney. I don't like it for the NBA. I think that, it makes fans afraid to buy tickets, especially those when teams are coming into town and you can afford maybe one game a season for your family, and you go buy those tickets, and then all of a sudden there's no Kawhi or no LeBron or no AD or whatever when they come and play. And I think that's a big problem for the league. I think they need to do something. I don't know what they can do because, it's hard to tell teams that, they can't play they have to play their players, and they'll come up with these baloney injuries that aren't, don't have any substance. But, I hope that they can figure out a way to spread the season a little longer so they don't have as many, 3 games in 4 or 5 days, that kind of thing, where they feel they have to rest them. And, we've brought it up several times on the podcast here in the last couple of weeks, is maybe they can tighten up the time frame of the playoffs a little bit, because it seemed to go on, long stretches of days off where somehow they can make it where teams don't have to do that. But your point is valid. I think I'm hoping that's not going to happen going into next year, because it's not good for the fans. Let's face the facts. I mean, you're paying these guys in these max deals of $240 million or whatever. And, there was a badge of honor in the league for a long time that if you sat, you were looked upon as soft. And that's when they were making $2.4 million, not $240 million. So I just hope there becomes a little bit of old school in there, that these guys feel that they need to get out there. I'm not saying anybody needs to play hurt. If you're hurt, you're out. But, the load management thing is a concern. I know that Adam Silver feels that it's something that he's constantly going to be looking at. He keeps, I don't know if you've heard this, Adrian, but he keeps talking about trying to change some things up to encourage guys not sitting by, like having a mid-season tournament. I don't know if you read about that, where like it's seeded for the mid-season where you qualify for the playoffs. There's at that all-star break, eliminating that, making it like a mini tournament, and then doing the same thing the second half of the year. This way, condensing and making every game count more, and then doing something like that. So, there's a lot of things. One thing the NBA does really, really well, better than any other league, is they stay ahead of the curve on what the fans are looking for. I mean, compared to the NFL and Major League Baseball and everything else, I mean, they just blow them away. They are right on the nose with what it takes. So I'm sure they'll look at these things and make some adjustments to make sure that it goes well.
Yeah, definitely not a trend that we want to see, the resting. I go to about 3 or 4 games a year, and I will not go to a game in that final week of the NBA season, because I think there's a very high probability that there's going to be missing players sitting for rest. So, yeah, I avoid going to games at that time, and not a great trend, Coach, but we're just seeing with the grind, the long schedule, that it's necessary, unfortunately. So let's see what happens. Let's see how it shakes out.
Yeah, I want to bring up a separate subject before we get into our preview team. Is I've been really following this Anthony Davis saga. Have you been following that?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And it's just right now, I listened to The Jump yesterday, and all the guys everybody listens to, Lowe and Windhorst and all these guys, and it's really looking as though the Lakers, Celtics, and Pelicans are working on somehow some kind of a deal is going to happen, I think, between these teams. I mean, it's I think it's going to be, personally, I don't believe it's going to be the Lakers just because of the things that took place. I think David Griffin is playing the Lakers against the Celtics. The Celtics have tons of assets. And if Anthony Davis is traded there, even though Rich Paul, his agent, said he'll go free agency after the first year for sure, I don't think he cares. I think that the Celtics are going to look at the Kawhi situation, the Paul George situation when he went to Oklahoma City, and say, hey, why not? Let's get the best player in here, go for a championship, and then see where it plays out. Maybe we keep them. Because, the Celtics have so many young players, so many draft picks. And, I think they're going to make a play for them. And I think they're trying to drive. David Griffin is a crafty guy. I knew as soon as the Pelicans got him, that was a great move for them. I think he's trying to drive the price up on the Celtics by also negotiating with the Lakers. So we'll see how this all plays out, because that's going to be a big part of, as soon as the domino falls with AD, then everything else will start happening.
I'm glad you brought this up, Coach, because I agree with you that I think the Pelicans are trying to drive the price up on the Anthony Davis trade. I think they leaked that Lakers trade just to drive that price up. And I do agree with you that the Celtics probably have a better package to offer for Anthony Davis, especially if Jason Tatum is involved. I love Jason Tatum. I think he's the future of the NBA. So, I think I agree with you there. But, Coach, let me ask you this. So Anthony Davis's agent, Rich Paul, shot a warning to the Celtics saying, if you trade for my client, I'm giving you a warning. It may be a 1-year rental. Would you be willing to give up all these young, potentially great assets for a 1-year rental of Anthony Davis? I mean, we've seen teams kind of make that gamble. We saw Toronto do it with Kawhi, even though I don't think they were giving up as much as the Celtics are going to give up to get Anthony Davis. We saw the Thunder do it with Paul George, right? So we've seen teams make this gamble and it pay off. Although I guess we're still kind of waiting to see if that Kawhi Leonard gamble pays off. Although they did just win the NBA title, so it already did kind of pay off, okay? But Coach, I want to ask you, if you are Danny Ainge, are you willing to unload your treasure trove for a 1-year rental of Anthony Davis?
I think there's two ways to answer that. 100% for me, yes. That is if the treasure trove, as you put it, is palatable enough for Ainge to give up. I would not include Tatum in that deal. If they can move Terry Rozier and Jaylen Brown and 3 of the draft picks. They don't need those draft picks. And, they could still make a really great package that is not going to hurt the future of the Celtics if Anthony Davis walks away. I mean, let's face it. And again, it's valid. Look what Kawhi did. Look what Paul George did. You gotta, sometimes you gotta roll the dice. Nothing can prove that more than what Toronto's accomplished this year. But, if you're giving up Tatum and all the other pieces and, whereas if he does walk away, you're left with a bare cabinet, then I think you got to look twice. So it's all in the negotiation. If they can work a deal out and not give up, future real stars of the league, then you give it a roll. If not, and I agree with you. I think there's so many sour grapes right now between the Pelicans and Lakers because there was a lot of leaking of information. And I mean, you've got the owner of the Pelicans said she would not make a trade with the Lakers over her dead body. So, I mean, that's how ugly it's gotten. So who knows? It's the latest school of thought is that the Pelicans may keep them and have them play alongside of Drew Holiday and Zion Williamson and all that. And who knows what happens there. So you never know, man. It's wide open.
Man, and I think we're going to see a conclusion to this pretty soon. We got the draft a week away, Coach. I know both you and I were very excited to talk about the draft. I think if they are going to trade Anthony Davis, they want to make a trade before the draft because they want to be making that pick, whether it's the Lakers pick 4, whether it's the Knicks pick 3, they want to be making that pick. So I think if they're going to trade Anthony Davis, I think we see it happen in the next week. If they decide to keep Anthony Davis, then obviously we're not going to see anything. But Coach, I'm excited to see what happens, man. I'm scared to leave my phone because I feel like the moment I do, we're going to get a Woj bomb. Something crazy is going to go down. So especially when we heard how active both the Celtics and the Lakers have been the last few days, it makes you feel like something could happen at any moment. So, Coach,
No
I'm on
doubt.
the edge of my seat, man. I cannot wait. Coach, we've been talking forever. We haven't even gotten to our assignment for today, which is the Houston Rockets. And, I think we're going to make this kind of quick. And the reason is because we both believe that there's not much there to the Rockets. And when I say that, I'm talking about, Coach, you think there's not a lot of change that's going to happen. Is that correct?
Well, I'll give you I'll lead into you because I know you've got some Houston Nuggets to share with us. But let me give you my quick, and it won't take long, look at the Rockets because of all the teams we've gone through. To me, they're the most cut and dry, and I'll tell you why. And then you can share me, your thoughts. But first of all, they have the 8th highest payroll, $126 million that they were locked into this past season. It changes to $128 million for next year, and they have their top 8 players all locked in a contract. So there's no key free agents. The only free agents of worth mentioning that they have are Austin Rivers, Iman Shumpert, Gerald Green, and Kenneth Faried. Not even really key contributors. So they've got all their people in place for next year. Nobody can leave, and they have no picks in the draft whatsoever. So, it looks like to me they put the team together that they want to roll out, that they thought they could win it with this year, and they still feel they have another good enough year with Chris Paul where they can make a run at it. And especially now that we've had this whole Warriors thing blow up, it could arguably say that Houston may be the favorite to win the West next year or pretty darn close to it. So I know there's been a few rumblings out there, and I'll let you, expound on those. But for the most part, I think we're going to be, if it's 7-card stud and you've got your 5 cards, I think the Rockets aren't going to draw any. I think they're going to stand pat.
So, Coach, I like your take. Makes a lot of sense. I definitely understand that. I kind of have a different view on them, and this is what I got. I think we might see them blow this up. We've already heard the organization, the front office, say that they're looking to make a move. Anyone's available, basically. Probably not James Harden, but I think even for the right deal, maybe even James Harden. This team kind of feels handicapped, as in they don't have any high draft picks. They don't have any available space for like a max free agent. If they are going to make any changes, it has to be through trades. And Coach, we're already hearing that they are actively shopping Clint Capella. So, Coach, I'm really curious. This is a very active organization. We've seen them make a lot of changes, kind of similar to how we talked about Toronto at the beginning of the show. So, Coach, I could see them maybe revamping this team. I think it would be really hard for them to move Chris Paul because of his age and his high contract. So, Clint Capella makes sense. I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's really a lot they could do, even if they decide to do trades, because they don't have a lot of guys here other than Clint Capella that would be like considered high trade value, right? So I do see them being really active, maybe making changes. But Coach, I got to be honest with you. I hope they take your approach. I hope they kind of stand pat and just maybe make small little tweaks. Coach, we've seen what role players can do. Guys like Fred VanVleet, who hit some key shots down to the stretch of that game last night to win that title. I mean, he was a difference maker in that series. So, Coach, if you can make little small tweaks to this Houston Rockets team, maybe bring in some really quality role player guys, just like a couple guys, it can make a big difference for this team. Coach, at the beginning of the show, we talked about how the Warriors are not going to be the same next season, with no Kevin Durant likely for the entire season, Klay Thompson missing a big chunk at the beginning of the season. The Rockets looked really good during the regular season this year. At times, they had stretches where they played really well. So, with the Warriors getting knocked down a peg, it kind of opening things up. I think if the Rockets kind of stand pat, just try to improve the core that they've got. Chris Paul, James Harden, Clint Capella. You got some nice role guys already with Eric Gordon. Like, try to improve on that. I think that's their best option because I'm not really sure exactly. You move Clint Capella, what are you going to get back? How much better is that going to make your team? So it sounds like they're already committed to staying with their coach. Oh my gosh, I'm completely having a brain fart right now that I can't think of his
Dan
name.
Tony.
D'Antoni. Oh my goodness, dude. Coach, it is way too early in the morning for me probably to be talking right now. It already seems like they're committed to D'Antoni, meaning they're committed to his system, his offensive system. I think, James Harden, Chris Paul, these guys, they already know that system, that offense. Stick with that. Just try to improve that team. What are your thoughts on that, Coach?
Well, D'Antoni wanted a long-term contract, and they wouldn't give him one. They gave him a one-year extension next year. So, I think they realize, again, with my theory of their cards are on the table. I think that they want to give his system one more run with this group and feel that they have a shot next year. And let me formulate this question to you, and I think we can sort of answer our own questions. If you had your last $1,000 and you had to bet it on a team to come out of the West and go to the finals next year, and let's say KD's out for the year, Klay's out for the year, and Cousins leaves in free agency, are you going to bet that $1,000 on who in the West? I don't. If you say Denver, I think you're wrong because they're still so young. But who else would you say has the best shot to go to the NBA Finals under those circumstances as things stand right now?
Well, I would still put the Warriors probably, even with Klay missing a chunk of the season, I would still put them up at the top. I like the Trailblazers. I like what they did, even though they got killed in that final series. But if they can get Nurkic back healthy, I think that would be a big difference. I love what their organization does, too, as far as, maybe they bring in some changes to solidify their bench and some of their role player guys as well. So I would put the Blazers up there. Coach, I know you're not going to like this. Probably would put the Nuggets up towards the top of that list. And, even though you might say it was a disappointing season, them getting knocked out of the playoffs, they got a deep team, Coach. They get Gary Harris, Jokic, Paul Millsap, Jamal Murray. They got a deep bench. I think what the experience that they got this year in the postseason, I think we're going to see that translate into next year. We're going to see their guys a lot smarter, a lot wiser. You may see a better team next year. Sometimes, like for the Bucks, for example, this was their first time there. So it wasn't surprising that they lost, that they didn't make it, all the way to the finals. But I think next year, this experience that those guys got, Giannis, Middleton, Bledsoe, like them getting that taste of getting knocked out, I think all of a sudden you see a better team when they get that experience. So I think it's going to be similar to the Nuggets. So yeah, I put the Nuggets at the top of that list. Warriors are still going to be there, I think. I see your point, though. I probably don't put the Rockets up there.
And see, for me, and I get what you're saying, and I think it's, you could draw a line between a lot of those teams. But if it's my last $1,000 and I really break down the rosters as they stand now and all the injuries and everything that took place, you give me Chris Paul, first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best point guards to ever play, even though it's towards the end of his career. James Harden, first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best offensive players in the history of the NBA. Clint Capella, a top third of the league center that's just coming into his own, that is a terrific ball player. PJ Tucker, one of the best glue pieces, great 3-and-D guys, knockdown shooter on the baseline. And you can go right through this team, and they have a hell of a team. Now, they didn't have the continuity after losing Trevor Ariza last season. So, again, I agree with you. I think they'll make a few small tweaks, try to get an Ariza kind of guy in there. But for my money, the team that's sitting the best, they're not going to lose a single one of their key 8 or 9 players to free agency. They don't have to worry about draft picks and building. They want to win now. D'Antoni's got a 1 year. I mean, their chips are all on the table, man. So my feeling is, especially with this Golden State fiasco that's happened, is they are going to find a way to tweak a couple of guys in there, like a Marc Gasol, kind of guy that went to Toronto. Not that it'll be Marc Gasol, but a guy like that. Get maybe a veteran that's getting toward the end of his career that'll take the veteran minimum to try to be part of a championship. And I hope we can play back this show next year in the playoffs, because I think they're going to be the number 1 or 2 seed. I still think they have, try to line up the guys from Portland. I mean, Aminu and some of their guys are so not that good that I can't even think of them. And some of the guys, on Denver too, Will Barton and all those guys don't match up to, the Hardens and Paul. So I get it. Portland's going to be better. Denver's going to be better. There's going to be teams that improve. But for my money, I think if Houston stands pat, they are going to be a tough team to beat under the situation with Golden State. And I think the Warriors fans out there need to come to a reality check here. This last 5 years was very, very special, and Kerr's done a great job, and Curry's the greatest shooter of all time. But I think it's over, man. I just don't see them being a stranglehold team. They don't have any good young players that are going to take over. KD, I think, is gone. I don't think he'll ever play for them again personally. If not, he's out for the whole year anyway. I think Cousins is gone because somebody's going to pay him way too much money, and they're smart enough not to do that. Klay's going to be gone so what are they going to put out there? How are they going to win the West and is it going to be McKinney and Looney? And those guys aren't going to win the West. Curry's Curry, but you saw what happens when he was in a situation twice now in that series when he had to score. They went box and one on the guy like it was high school ball. And he couldn't make shots in a lot of those situations. And, he can't do it alone. Nobody can. That's what's great about the NBA. And they just don't have enough weapons, so unless they can somehow retool through, they don't really have any significant draft picks that are very high. They don't cap space wise, they're going to have to pay the guys that they have. So I don't know what they're going to do. So it's wide open, brother.
I'm going to respectfully disagree. I'm not going to count those Warriors out. I do still believe with the big three, as long as the three-headed monster is healthy towards the end of the season, as long as they're in the playoffs. Now, I do agree with you. I think KD's gone. I think he's going to leave. We're still hearing that he's going to be offered a max contract that, the Knicks, the Nets, all these places are still willing to offer him a max, even with the injury. So I think KD is going to be gone. But even with still Green, Curry, Thompson, their future success may be based on what can they put around those guys. Like, Coach, remember those those Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls team of the 90s? They'd keep the core intact, but then they would reload with like a supporting cast. So I think the Warriors, their future success could be based on how they reload around those three guys. So we'll see what happens, man. I'm not going to bet against the Warriors. Their guys are still primarily young. I guess Curry's a little up there, but Klay, I think he's 26, 27. I'm not looking anything, so I apologize if I'm incorrect on that. Draymond's still in his prime. Even though Curry's getting older, he's still in his prime. So, these three guys are still there. I think they're going to still be contenders. But I do hear what you're saying, Coach. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. And just the fact that we can have different views on this, I think makes it fun. This is why I'm saying it's making it fun.
I've got you the first Adrian Coach challenge.
Coach, some of the other shows I listen to, they do like almost like not a bet or a wager, but they do something where it's like, hey, you have this take, I have an opposite take. Let's put it up on a board. Let's see who's right at the end of the season.
An actual bet for you, dude.
Okay, let's do
A
this.
1-year supply of Hawaiian Kona
Oh
coffee
my goodness.
for the team that has the best regular season record, Warriors versus Rockets, for the full season next year.
Wow. That. Okay,
Time to put your coffee where your mouth is, brother.
give me till the next show to think about this, because
You
we're
double
talking
chicken.
we're talking regular season. We're talking regular season record. So at the end of the regular season, who has the better record? Who is higher in the standings at the end of the regular
Correct.
season? See, that might be tough, man, because no
Oh, I
KD.
see a little backing up now. Let's go, coffee man. Come
Like,
on.
if this bet was who gets farther in the playoffs, I'll take the Warriors. But I think it's possible that the Rockets finish higher in the standings than the Warriors. I think that's possible. So I'll tell you what, Coach, let me mull it over. How about we'll start the beginning of next show with whether I decide to take this wager? Because,
All
hey,
right.
that is some high stakes there, man. We're
That's some
talking
high
a
stakes.
year's supply of delicious Kona coffee. That is some high stakes right there, man. So I gotta make a wise decision here and mull this over.
Well,
Coach.
you can consult your team there, and let me. And the wager will stand in place till our next podcast.
Speaking of next podcast, Coach, we got the NBA draft coming up on Thursday. I know you are geeked for it. I am super pumped for it. So we are going to have a lot to talk about on the next show. So much to talk about, man. I am knee deep in what is going to happen here in the draft. So I cannot wait to see how everything plays out, where we've already talked about potential Anthony Davis trade, how that could affect this draft. So much to talk about on the next show, Coach. Coach, we thought this was going to be a short show. That we're going 46 minutes long here. I got to get going. I know you got a lot to do. Let's wrap a bow on this. Where can everyone reach you at, Coach?
Well, one thing I want to say is definitely tune in next Friday to our show, because we're going to do a deep dive into how the NBA draft affects each team from a fantasy perspective. I've got my board all ready to go. We debated, Adrian and I, about doing a show live while the draft was going on, but we wanted it to be tighter and more in depth. So we're going to wait till after the draft, and we'll go pick by pick through the entire draft and see what effect that will have on teams coming up. So number one, if you're in a dynasty league, it's a must listen podcast, because it's, hopefully going to really direct you in that way. And secondly, if you want to get your jump on preparation for your drafts coming into next year, now that the season is officially over, that's going to be your first, step, because by the time we do that show next week, we may have the Anthony Davis trade go down. We may have a bunch of different dominoes to fall. Free agency begins July 1st, which is coming up shortly as well. So listen to that show. It may be a full 60 to 75-minute show next Friday, and I look forward to really breaking that down for our hoop ballers so they see how that's going to affect the teams going into next year. And you can find me on Twitter at Joe Sarvadi. That's JoeSarvadi. Jump on our hoop ball website, and you can find me on the forums there. And, love to get some questions in for our show, or draft questions prior. Just shoot them over there on Twitter or on our hoop ball website, and we'll get back to you.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening and supporting the show. Hit me up at Twitter. I'm at Adrian Benjamins. That was a lot of fun. We will see you guys next week.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.